They say my mother died in a jewelry sacrifice ceremony, but no one dares to say who put her emerald into the mist spring. My name is Eliza, an orphan of the Earl of the North, a girl who was demoted to a commoner. My mother, Gwendolyn, was the only one who wore a pure emerald in the princess trial. Her gem came from the deep veins of the Greenhorn Mountains in the east. It was perfectly cut, and the inclusions were as clear as a miniature garden. The stone refiner said it was a stone with holy patterns, but she died on the day the emerald cracked. I was 7 years old that year, hiding behind the stone pillars of the Mist Spring Palace, and saw my mother's gem exploded a thin crack in the hot mist, cracking like tears falling. No one saved her, and no one looked at me. I remember that the stone refiner didn't even look back, but said coldly, "Her gem unclean." From that day on, I knew that this world does not love real things. It only embraces the illusion of perfection. 12 years later, I stepped into the palace again as one of the candidates for the crown princess. My father left a will before his death. If I can be chosen as the crown princess on my own, my fiefdom and title will be restored, I said to the female marquis of the East Territory indifferently. She just smiled. Don't be silly, Eliza. This is not a matter of yourself, but what you bring. The Queen launched a trial called Green Court Selection, requiring each candidate to offer an emerald as a proof of loyalty and bloodline. The best stone will be set in the crown of cracked green, symbolizing the position of the princess. This is a cruel game. The quality of emeralds depends on 5 things: color, clarity, cut, carat, and treatment. This knowledge is like embroidery. If you don't understand it, you will humiliate yourself at the table. I chose the emerald left by my mother. It has long lost its luster and there is a crack inside, but it still retains the blue-green light like the tranquility of the forest. Child, you are destroying your future. Do you know what they fear the most? Lady Lelia whispered, the cracks in the emerald. As long as it looks flawless, they would rather never let people see its true nature. I know. Emeralds often have cracks, so they are often filled with natural resins or plant oils. If these fillings are exposed to high temperatures, they will evaporate, change color, and cause the gem to crack. You should find a stone refiner to seal it, she advised me. But I didn't. I can't cover up its cracks anymore. It is the evidence left by my mother and the root of my existence. It was spring snow on the day of the trial. Emeralds must undergo a purification ceremony before they can be offered to the gods and become part of the royal power. The entire ceremony was held in the Steelmark Hall. The hall was filled with water vapor, and the smell of spices and white fir resin was mixed in. There is a vine mirror station made of mirror stone in the center. It is said that it can reflect the soul pattern of the gemstone and distinguish its authenticity and cleanliness. Surrounded by cold mist spring water, mistwell of deep marks. The spring water is not hot and contains rare mist mineral powder. After the ceremony, it can seal the breath of the gemstone, symbolizing the sincerity of the donor. The Queen sat on the jade platform and looked at me expressionlessly. The donor, Eliza, come forward. I knelt down and held the emerald in my hands. The stone refiner took the gem and placed it in the center of the vine mirror station. The mirror stone began to resonate, projecting the phantom of the light pattern inside the gemstone. When the light pattern broke due to the unstable structure of the gemstone, the whole hall fell into a dead silence. The light pattern suddenly burst, like a tear mark sliding down. He whispered, the light pattern is broken. The purity is not clean, and it cannot be used for the crown. I almost stood up and ran over, but the Queen spoke. This stone, the light pattern is not suitable. It cannot be used for the crown. She uttered each word slowly, and each word was like a knife falling. Back off. I bit my lip to prevent myself from losing control. Everyone lowered their heads and chuckled. Only the Eastern Marquis glared at the stone refiner. The cracks on this stone are not a flaw at all. On the contrary, although the emeralds of others are intact on the surface, it is hard to say whether the fat sealing is too much. She said coldly, are you questioning the light vein inspection? I am questioning people. The atmosphere suddenly became tense, but the Queen just smiled slyly. If you really want to prove its guilt, let it speak for itself. Surrounded by cold mist, the gem emerged from the water like a bird with broken wings. The cracks spread like rivers in the deep green, clear as light. I took a deep breath and spoke steadily. It has cracks and has been injured, but it has never deceived anyone. That is its sin. The queen shot back coldly. I turned my head and looked at her directly. No, its sin is not to pretend. The queen's gem is not hers. The queen's past is not noble. 30 years ago, she was just the daughter of a stone refiner. It is said that year, a strange resonance sound suddenly occurred on the Vine Mirror station. No one noticed that the stone in her hand suddenly emitted a pure golden glow in the light pattern, shocking everyone present. The stone given by God, the court stone refiner asserted, and then she was named the crown princess. But the real origin of that stone, no one remembered it. It's not hers, it's your mother's stone. I stood in the secret room of the Marquis of the East, touching the ancient stone vein codex with my fingertips. The pages were yellowed and the ink was mottled. Your mother gave the stone to the stone refiner to make the final, filing sigil of the emerald vein. But she never took it back. 7 days later, an emerald with the same color and texture appeared in Elena's hand. But it was missing that shallow mark. My heart was beating like a drum. That mark is a mark left by your mother on purpose. She once said, gemstones are like people, only with marks can they be real. So, that cracked green gemstone is my evidence. The Marquis nodded. She swapped your mother's emerald to seize the position of crown princess. And now she wants to destroy yours and make everything silent. I was silent for a moment, then looked up and asked, how can I take back what belongs to us? In the deep mountains of the East, there is a forgotten stone refining place, Greenhorn Workshop. In the past, the purest emeralds were produced here. But now there is only moss crawling on the stone walls and the smell of rust floating in the mountain breeze. The Marquis said, evidence of the crime of dyeing stones is hidden here. The so-called dyeing stones is an evil magic that disguises secondary yellow-green gemstones as pure emeralds by using pigments, oils and heat pressing. This kind of fake gem will fade or explode in high heat or fire. And it is very easy to break, but it can flow into the palace at a very low cost. The queen bribed the entire palace stone refiner guild with this stone. Her tone was as cold as ice. We sneaked into the depths of the workshop and saw the abandoned stone dyeing formula, which was nicknamed Fayol, a kind of oil extracted from fay grass in the extreme south. Once this thing is mixed into the stone, it can show perfect color within 3 days. But it will show signs of degradation after 3 months. She knows that these gems will eventually break. She doesn't care, I murmured. The queen doesn't care whether the gems are real or fake, nor does she care whether everything she took will be shattered. She only cares whether the crown is worn on her head. I opened the stone dyeing record and found something shocking. She had used my name to flow several batches of fake gems into the East Territory auction. Are you framing me? I clenched my fists. No, she wants to completely remove you from the stone world, from the bloodline, and from history. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. That day, I understood. This is no longer my mother's revenge, but my own name, which I have to take back from the cracks. I asked to talk to the queen in the unmarked hall of the palace. It is the only place in the palace without gemstones. The floor is pure white or smooth and flawless, which is said to represent the truth cannot be hidden. You still don't want to leave. The queen leaned lazily on the back of the chair, and her gold earrings swayed in the candlelight. I presented a box of East Territory emeralds and said, the minister is willing to present the stones again to prove his heart. She raised her eyebrows and reached out to take out one of them, but stopped at the moment of touching it. How is this possible? It was a real emerald from the deep veins of Greenhorn, with pure color and a few Jardin garden-shaped cracks, but it was treated with natural sealing oil and had no traces of dyeing. I leaned forward and said, I have asked the last pure-blood stone refiner in Greenhorn to personally mine and cut the stone. The stone book is also available for review. The queen sneered. Do you think that a stone can shake me? I looked at her directly. This stone will enter the holy fire mist spring. If it is dyed or forged, it will shatter on the spot. If not, queen, are you willing to testify in public? She said nothing. Her fingers tightly clasped the jade throne. This confrontation is just the beginning. I have already secretly contacted the 3 marquises of the East. territory and the 2 concubines in the palace, and gradually leak the queen's past treasure-grabbing. The holy fire mist spring is about to hold its second stone offering ceremony, and I want her to choose in public. Either accept the real emerald and admit her past mistakes, or let the crown she had cheated with a fake stone shatter in her hands. The night covered the capital like a rough or that has not been cut. Erasa hid on the top of the bell tower of the Scarlet Rose Knight Monastery, overlooking the lights of the imperial city. She is no longer alone. Ania, Marquis of the East the last pure-blooded guardian of Greenhorn. Albert, Marquis of the North owes Eliza's father a life. Mason, the head chamberlain of the royal chamber secretly hates the queen's seizure of power and controls the palace pigeon line. They secretly formed the Green Broken Alliance and vowed to let the truth burst out on the eve of the Holy Fire Fog Spring. Tomorrow, the queen will wear the green broken crown and personally preside over the second stone offering. Eliza looked at the moon, and her voice was like a whetstone rubbing against the edge of a sword. If we let the fake stone break in the pool and keep the real stone intact, the court will no longer be able to protect her. Ania gave her a small cloth bag, which contained the counterpowder of Fey, all which is obtained by squeezing Fey grass seeds and then charring them, which can make the dye all evaporate in advance. Just sprinkle it into the fog spring, and all the fake gems will break immediately. Mason handed over a tin tube sealed with beeswax, a copy of the Queen's private treasury account book, which records the flow of fake gems and bribes in the past 10 years. Nail it on the palace bulletin wall, it is sharper than any sword. Albert patted his long sword. If she still wants to hold on, give it to my sword. The next day at noon, there was a sea of people outside the Stillmark Hall. Queen Elena wore a cracked green crown. The crown was inlaid with the perfect emerald that was taken from Alyssa's mother 30 years ago. The mist was steaming in the hall, and the 8 candidates placed their stones under the golden cup in turn, and then moved to the Vine Mirror station. Alyssa was the last one in line, and the emerald in her hand had natural cracks, and the color was deep blue-green like the bottom of a lake. At the moment she stepped forward, Mason secretly sprinkled the counter powder from the side door, the scorched powder extracted from the seeds of the fey grass, which could induce the fat seal and show color in advance. When the light pattern resonated, offering stone light vein inspection, the stone refiner placed the first stone on the Vine Mirror station. After a few breaths, snap, a crack exploded from the light pattern. All threads emerged, and the gemstone shattered instantly. The second, third, 4 consecutive cracks. The crowd was shocked, and the stone refiner's face changed drastically. The light pattern is overflowing, and the fat seal is too heavy. Erasa walked to the mirror light table and placed her mother's stone in the middle. Surrounded by cold mist, the light pattern resonated and lit up, and the hall was silent. 10 heartbeats, 20 heartbeats, nothing happened. The stone is still intact, the cracks are the same as before, but the light pattern is deeper and clearer, like the reflection of an ancient pine forest. The stone refiner raised the golden cup with trembling hands. The real stone is flawless. The light pattern is united, and the divine ceremony recognizes it. The excitement was like the ringing of the trial, and the crowd was silent. The maids around the queen had already been replaced by Erasa and others. At this moment, the maids suddenly took action, snatched the crown from the queen's head, held the crown of cracked green high, and ran straight to Vine Mirror station. The queen rushed over suddenly, but it was too late. The crown had been placed in the resonance platform, and the light pattern began to run. With a pop sound, the emerald inlaid on the crown exploded, and the cracks spread rapidly like a spider web, and the flames shot out from the gaps, like a sharp blade cutting through the air. The queen's pupils shrank sharply, and she fell to the stone steps, with blood oozing from her fingertips. The crown of cracked green was split into 2, shocking the whole audience. Thunder and wind roared outside the house, like the roar of a god. Anya rushed in and read out the evidence of the bribery stone aloud. Albert followed closely and subdued the stone refiner, who was protecting his master. Eliza stepped forward and held the exploded emerald. It was still translucent, and the light emitted from the cracks was like a flying green butterfly. She understood. The real power is not in the flawless crystal surface, But how much light can be reflected in the cracks? The queen whispered in a trembling voice. My emerald is flawless. I am born to be a phoenix. Erasa lowered her eyes. You are just a fake. The guards took Aelin away from the Mist Spring Palace, and the wind blew up her torn cloak like a distant black river. 3 days later, the new royal parliament was held in the unmarked hall. Erasa was unanimously elected as the Green Court advisor minister to supervise the mines, the stone refiner guild, and the palace treasury. The crown prince was young and weak, and the seat of the regent speaker was vacant. She sat in that chair. She issued the first decree. True stone law. Any emerald that has been dyed or overoiled shall not be allowed to enter the palace. The Holy Fire Mist Spring Palace notarizes the purity of the mines every 5 years. Natural cracks are recognized as marks of stone, and filling and erasing are prohibited. The Stone Refiners Guild must make all records public, and fraudsters must be exiled. The counselors looked at her head, the re-embedded, cracked green crown. The crown was still made of her mother's stone. The cracks were clear and dazzling. She did not repair it, but only wrapped platinum filaments in the gaps, making the cracks the most dazzling pattern. Someone asked me why I didn't change to a perfect one. Elissa smiled at everyone at the end of the parliament. Because the kingdom also has cracks, and I am willing to let the light in. The Broken Green Alliance was disbanded, and each took up his own position. Onyuri started the Greenhorn Workshop and renamed it Cracked Garden. Albert guarded the northern border, and his sword was always aimed at corruption. Mason stayed in the pigeon tower of the palace, cutting paper and writing poems, recording the new style of a generation. And the Yingwen Hall would still smell the fragrance of pine resin every May. The broken emeralds were placed in the corner of the hall for apprentices to study. Legend has it that as long as you are honest and look at it, you can see the appearance of flowers blooming from your cracks. Someone carved a monument for this history. She used the crack as a crown to let the real stone speak. She used her true name as a sword to cut off the false face. From then on, all stones with marks will be honored. After reading it, Eliza just smiled and put her mother's ring back on her finger. She knew the story was not over yet. The kingdom still needed to be polished and cut to let more light in. But she also knew that the real crown had already been firmly placed on the cracked but high-spirited heart.